Let's do it again. Sign me up. Just keep doing it.
I'm in that rider. Every time that I go up, it's midnight, I swear I get higher.
Oh
Swear I
yeah.
gotta get higher now.
Right now.
I'm in that rider. Every time that I give what I got, I supply that fire. I supply that fire, man. I'm in that rider.
Oh yeah.
Every time that I go up, it's midnight, I swear I get higher.
And welcome back to another episode of Bookmarks with Bump. I'm your host, me being Bump. I use my expertise as a former personal trainer, current tradesman, all-around settler, and my life experience to give a commentary on threads that I find interesting that I've had bookmarked and stowed away on the shelf. I decided one day, hey, I never really give myself the time to read these, so why not read them into a microphone and give them out to the people? See what they could find from the sports, the motivation, the encouragement, the life lessons, the fitness tips, and whatever else is under the kitchen sink that you decide to find on Twitter or X according to your algorithm. And I hope you're living in a good algorithm. Because the algorithm is controlling us, friends. But no, it's not. It most certainly is not right now. We are in the dead heat of the summer. Summer is swinging. The temperature is swinging. The weather is swinging. Isolated thunderstorms have been the topic of conversation this weekend. Nonetheless, I mean, it's sweltering. It's humid. You're getting a good sweat. I love it when it's humid. I'm not a big fan of the winters. I don't like being cold. I get stiff. But when it's humid, I feel loose. I feel like I can move. When I'm humid and I'm performing and running in races and, I decided I want to do a lot more things when it's nice and warm and humid while I'm loose. Play more golf, play more basketball, hike, stay outside more, soak up the sun, really. But when I'm out there, I feel great. I feel great. And while we're on the topic of great, the first bookmark that I have picked out for today is what Michael Jordan and Kobe had in common, according to their trainer. They both had a very famous personal trainer who kind of ultimately changed and developed and evolved their careers. When Michael Jordan first started in the league, he was running into the bad boys of Detroit, the Pistons, and they were beating the Pistons right out of him. I mean, he has been on record multiple times saying that playing that team in the playoffs and their intensity, their physicality, made him bulk up, made him become a better and stronger player. And when Kobe came into the league, he was a high school senior. He was 18 years old. He hadn't fully developed into a man yet. He was a scrawny young teenager who could move like nobody else, and he was a phenom. But ultimately, what drove these players to be great was their strength, their ability to finish, their ability to focus through contact, through physicality, and put the ball in the basket. So what were the things that they had in common? According to the person who spent the most intimate time together with them, number one, you can't excel at anything before you train your mind. Mental dominance is what ultimately makes you unstoppable. And when you look at the competitive nature of who Michael Jordan was and the Mamba mentality that was trademarked by Kobe Bryant, you can actually see that without even having to look much further into it. Everything was a competition to Michael Jordan, and he wanted to win every single one. If you look at the Last Dance documentary, he was betting on flipping coins before the game even started. He wanted to win and be the best at everything. And Kobe, how many iconic pictures of Kobe Bryant are there where he's backing down on defense, locked in, with his jersey clenched in his teeth? He was a fierce competitor. And when it was time to work, he locked in and got tunnel vision and created the Mamba mentality. Number two, if one thing separated Michael from every other player, it was his stunning ability to block out everything and everyone else. He was able to shut out everything except his mission to be the best. It's important. That's how the championship team from this year acted. Nothing mattered. That's what Coach Mazzulla was saying. Nothing matters except for that last win of the season, which should be the last game of the season that we're playing in. Nothing else matters. That's the mission. That's the mission when you're a professional athlete. That's what you want to accomplish. You want to bring home the championship every year. Number 3, these being Jordan and Kobe, are the most driven individuals you'll ever know, with an unmatched genius for what they do. They don't just perform a job, they reinvent it. I mean, that puts the cherry on top when we're not even halfway through yet. That is what these two guys ultimately did. Michael Jordan, coming off the heels of the Larry Bird and Magic Johnson led NBA, completely turning the league on its head, playing with such ferocity and emotion and passion. He made the game so much cooler. Everybody wanted to be like Mike. Kobe Bryant, reinventing the game, taking pieces of Michael Jordan's game and putting his own flair on it. He was a one-of-a-kind player. He was a player that people emulate today. But nobody can emulate the focus. Nobody can emulate that drive. That is something that they were born with. That instinct, that killer instinct. That's what pushes a player over the top. That's what makes them one of these guys. Number 4, the greats never stop learning. All the hours of work have created an unstoppable internal resource they can draw on in any situation. And that's important for anybody and anything that they do. There's always a better way to do something. Don't think you have everything figured out. There's always a more efficient, quicker, stronger, faster way to achieve whatever goal it is you're trying to achieve. Don't give up on Old Reliable. It's always there for you, but always look for improvements. Number 5, the most important thing, the one thing that defines and separates him from any other competitor, he's addicted to the exquisite rush of success. He'll alter his entire life to get it. Now think about that. A lot of Hall of Fame speeches come with an obligatory apology to the families of the inductee because of the dedication they put into their craft. You have to be completely selfish to achieve these levels of success. You have to be in a position where nothing else can matter and everything else is taken care of. So you can apply every ounce of focus onto something and become as great as these two guys did. This is what separates them from the pack. 6, he does not care what you think. That ties into 5, that ties into 4. He doesn't care if he's making a bad impression on somebody along the way. He wants to be the best, and he's going to get ahead any way that he can. One thing that I can point to him not caring at all is his level of wanting to be comfortable. When you look at the Dream Team, the 1996 Olympic team that famously Isaiah Thomas was left off of due to the request of Michael Jordan, you look at that team and think, hey, this team might be incomplete due to that. But he didn't care. And he didn't care what Isaiah Thomas thought either. It was either the 96 or that might have been the 92 team, now that I think about it. Anyway, he didn't care. And Kobe didn't care either. When you look at the way he treated the younger players in practice or the people that came onto his team, he made it clear who the biggest dog in the pound was. And, that might be brash, but everybody had a role to play. And sometimes that was just being Kobe's teammate. But he didn't care if that's what led the team to success. In those later years, once Shaq left, from the time Shaq left the Lakers on, that was Kobe's ship. And every ounce of success was due to the way that he would play and lead the team. He led by example. 7, you don't get to be the best at anything without blistering confidence and an impenetrable shell. Don't let anything get to you. Example number 1, and the only one, Matt Barnes, ball fake. Did he flinch? Not one bit. I would have fell down. That's Kobe. Be impenetrable. He certainly was. Number 8, most people run from stress. Run to it. Stress keeps you sharp. It challenges you in ways you'd never imagine and forces you to solve issues and manage situations that send weaker people running for cover. Be comfortable in uncomfortable situations. This is something I talk about in exercise a lot. When I'm working with a client or when I'm working out with my brother, there are some certain exercises that he doesn't like to do. Now, I wouldn't do this with an older person, but if he's your young, able-bodied brother, you're going to push him through those uncomfortable situations and tell him, hey, this is where you get stronger. Front squats being number one. One of the toughest exercises, really. I mean, when you're talking about the way you hold the bar, how comfortable that is, it's not. However, the only way to grow and get used to holding the bar is by doing it, dealing with those uncomfortable situations. It's going to push you forward and make you better in the long run. 9. Good things come to those who work. Yeah, not those who wait. Good things come to those who earn them. That's life. Everything you get out of life, you earn. Everything you give, you get back. That's karma. That's God working. That's the universe working for you. But if you want something, and if you want something great, you have to earn it. Titles and privileges and achievements aren't just handed out. They're earned. They're rewards. They're rewards of hard work, sweat, tears, blood, whatever it takes to be what you want to be. You want to be something? Turn yourself into it. That doesn't happen by snapping your fingers. That happens with hard work. And last but not least, number 10, they expect to succeed. And when they do, they never celebrate for long because there's always more to do. You know, in a way, you'd see these guys and look at the way they operate and you think maybe they're cocky, but they're humble in this way, that winning once doesn't mean anything. If you want to solidify your legacy, you have to win and win and win again. There's a better way to win. You could be more dominant. That game was too hard. How do we make it easy? What do I do to make it easy for the team? What do I do to succeed at a higher rate? That's the focus that these guys were on at all times. And that was taught through their trainer. When you spend time around somebody, you quickly learn their character when you're working out with them. What is their tolerance? What can they handle? How much do they want to challenge themselves? Are they thirsty to grow, or are they going through the motions? You can learn a lot about a person from the way they train. And with the training comes results. And with results come rewards. Now, we're nearing closer and closer to the beginning of training camp for the NFL. I'm a huge football fan. And I'm going to be talking about football a lot throughout the process of this podcast. I'm talking about sports a lot of focus on sports. I find a lot of motivation from sports. Athletes like we just talked about Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan. You could learn a lot about a positive mindset and ways to find success through studying these types of people. I was talking about how hard work brings reward. And one player in the NFL who's achieved a enormous reward due to his rate of hard work is Amon Ra St. Brown. A thread popped up that was labeled hilarious. I saw that and I bookmarked right away because I love a good laugh. The tweet reads as, Lions receiver Amon Ra St. Brown had one team he did not want to get drafted by when he was heading into the draft. The Detroit Lions, which just so happens to be the team he's on and has been rewarded by. He said that when he saw the 313 area code show up on his phone during the draft, he said, oh, no. As a matter of fact, St. Brown wanted to get drafted by the rival Packers, which I believe at the time his brother Equanimous St. Brown was playing on before he got moved over to the Bears. But nonetheless, he gets drafted to the Lions. And right around this time is when the Lions started to build this energy they've been accumulating underneath the rise of Coach Dan Campbell, Motor City Dan Campbell, MCDC. Since day one, this man has been the most electrifying coach in the league. And he's got a lot of push behind him. The city is behind this team again, due to performances from players like Amon Ra St. Brown, who has been greatly rewarded now by the Lions, a team he did not want to get drafted to, if you could picture that. He didn't want to end up on this team, but what does he do? He shows up, he puts his hard hat on, he goes to work, and he does his job because he wants to be great. Just like Michael Jordan, just like Kobe Bryant. He wants to be great. He wants to be the best. And what does he do? Just last season, he notched in 1,515 receiving yards, coming in third in the NFL as a wide receiver, right behind Tyreek Hill and CeeDee Lamb. He was selected to his second Pro Bowl team. He was elected first team All-Pro. In his first playoff game, 110 yards. He showed up on every third down for Jared Goff. Him and Jared Goff have an amazing connection, and they make this team exciting and fun to watch. Now we head into this season, and back at the end of April, he signed a 4-year, $120 million contract, keeping him with the Lions through 2028. 4 years ago, the one place he didn't want to go. And now he's there for who knows, could probably be his career if things keep trending upwards for the Lions. And that just goes to show you, if you want something, it doesn't matter what the circumstances are, just work for it. This guy clearly didn't want to live in Detroit. He does now, and now he loves it. Now he's paid. He got rewarded for everything that he's done and everything that he's doing, and who knows how the city of Detroit will be rewarded soon. As we went through the playoffs, I thought this team could play in the Super Bowl right now. They fall short to the 49ers, but that was a game they could have had. If they could have had that game, they could have any game this season coming up. I don't know if I can call them a dark horse pick for the Super Bowl yet or not, but I don't really see them as the Lions that used to be the Lions. They're not the laughingstock of the league anymore. The title is reserved for the Panthers. Anyway, Amon Ra, he got dealt his hand. He did the best he could with it. And sort of to play on that, another story that I've had bookmarked is that the Ravens' Marlon Humphrey, who has been with the Ravens throughout his whole career, on a podcast, he takes a moment to give a little monologue out to Patrick Queen, an ex-teammate of his, who was drafted to the Steelers in 2020 and stayed there until last year. They couldn't reach an agreement on an extension, and he decides to take a contract with the Baltimore Ravens. An interdivision rival, one of the fiercest rivalries in the AFC North. So now here's Marlon Humphreys kind of clapping at his ex-teammate over here saying, the grass might not be greener in Pittsburgh. To which Patrick Queen responded on Twitter by himself. I suggest you follow him. He's a great follow. Patrick Queen is pretty funny. He just posted a video of him standing out in his yard with a hose, literally watering the grass, telling Marlon Humphrey, hey, the grass is greener where you water it. Maybe he didn't like his situation in Baltimore. Maybe he thought he could play to a higher potential. Patrick Queen he did a lot for that Baltimore Ravens team last year. Even heading into the season, he was trying to get a contract. He was trying to get a contract extension going into the 2023 season, which he ended up not getting, and he still led the team in tackles. I believe he had 118 tackles last season and led the team in tackles. So it didn't slow him down at all. He still went out there and did his work. He just wanted to water his grass somewhere else, much like Amon Ra. Look at him. He thought, hey, this is going to be, I don't want to live in Detroit. I don't want to do this here. And then what did he do? He went out in his yard, put his flip-flops on, grabbed his garden hose, and just started spraying that thing down. The grass is greener where you water it. Where you work is where you're rewarded. Patrick Queen, he put the work in. He wasn't getting the reward he wanted, so now he's over in Pittsburgh. Another team that's trending upwards. I'm excited to see what Pittsburgh does. If they have a solid defense this year, now led by Patrick Queen, Cam Hayward, TJ Watt, Joey Porter Jr., they have pieces all over the field. And then you bring in this new quarterback room. You have the options of Russell Wilson or Justin Fields, two dynamic quarterbacks that I haven't given up faith on. Maybe they just weren't in the best situations in the last couple teams that they play with. We know what the Bears are. Who knows what's going on with Russell Wilson, but if he gets his confidence back in Pittsburgh, that team could be a major, major problem. Like I always do, I have the tweets in the description for the episode. So I'd suggest that's one that you go and look at, the Patrick Queen response. He doesn't say anything at all in it. He just is responding to the clip from the podcast in his yard with a hose. That's hilarious. That's good Twitter right there. If you don't know what people like about Twitter or what's so great about Twitter, you see something like that, and that's a great tweet. And it's funny. There's a lot of humor on Twitter. It's a great tweet. It's funny. Something else that I have bookmarked that I found to be quite funny is I'm gonna have to paraphrase this. And if you can get context clues, this would be great for you here. The tweet reads as, "Why do white people want to say neighbor so bad, bro? They got some bangers." And now what I have here that we're gonna go over and have a little laugh about is probably the greatest compilation of sayings I've ever seen in my life. They have a tiered list of sayings which I'm guessing are dedicated to honkies. In the F tier, the bottom tier, the worst. Yellow, which I agree. If I pick up the phone and I hear somebody say yellow, I know I'm talking to somebody that's probably due to a business engagement. I'm not really doing this for pleasure. It's not who I want to talk to. Let's skedaddle. And I gotta be honest, I say this one sometimes, so I guess my humor lies in the F tier from time to time, but low-hanging fruit is, it's good to punch down sometimes. I don't care what they say about comedy. If it's funny, it's funny. This one referring to when you're taking group photos, everybody's, they got their arms around each other. It's the family reunion. Everybody's smiling, happy to be around, and you got that one aunt with the Tiva flip-flops on saying, "Now let's do a silly one." We move on to the D tier, where whoopsie daisy is right there alongside of the bee's knees. The bee's knees is something that I thought died away 15, 20 years ago. I haven't heard anybody say that since it was just ironic. Whoopsie daisy is, man, if something's going wrong and you have the wherewithal to sit there and say whoopsie daisy, it must not be that bad of a thing. The C tier is, it's dedicated to one and only one noun. This would be a noun. A cup of joe, a description of coffee. And uh, what is Joe? What is Joe all about? Coffee's supposed to wake you up, right? The only Joe I know is sleepy. Let's move on to the B tier, where there's a look what the cat dragged in, which is a great ribbing. It's a great ribbing if you think about it. What a nice, polite roast. Nowadays, when people walk in the door, you can hear something like, "Oh, look at that," or something like that. People are much quicker to say harsher things to you. But back in the days here, we came up with things like the cat. For crying out loud is B, and I love that because, nowadays, if you want to really let one rip, it's for crying out loud. That still holds to this day. For crying out loud, right next to for Pete's sakes. I don't know who Pete is, but he had a lot of sakes to give. The cat got your tongue. I wonder where that one came from. I really do. That one's curious to me. Because if a cat had my tongue, I'd be in a lot of pain. I wouldn't be quiet. Usually they say that when you're being quiet. If a cat had a hold of my tongue, I'd be screaming. And put a cork in it is another one. Put a cork in it. I heard put a sock in it a lot. That was a good call to muffle your sounds. Wow, the Mets are having batting practice in Wrigley Field. Now we're heading into the top tiers here. The best of the best, the cream of the crop. We're starting with OPE. 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 And that's a better way to say oops. I think it's more subtle. You're not really giving a lot away there. You're on thin ice, pal. Perfect. I love a good threat that's not really a threat. It's just a warning. Tread lightly here. You might back yourself into a corner you don't want to be in. That's rich coming from you. And I love that. That's good pot calling the kettle black. You betcha. I love saying you bet to people. Nowadays, people just shorten it and they say bet. But you betcha is top notch. I like to say you bet your ass too. That one's a good one. Because then you're really like putting it on them. Hey, I'm being serious with you. You should take this real serious. Take it so serious that you even put yourself on it. Don't put me on it, but you. And the last but not least in A tier is why I oughta. And it leaves a lot up for interpretation. Oughta what? What is your plan? What is your plan here? Should I stop? Immediately, that's something that's going to make somebody stop. Now we're heading into S tier. We're getting so close to the elite. Newsflash, buddy. A lot of these you can say with such vitriol. And just saying them, just deciding the way that you're going to say them, They're sayings that bite to the core. Newsflash, buddy, really draws a lot of attention. You're barking up the wrong tree does the same thing too. Barking up the wrong tree is enough to scare any dog, because the dogs will know from their ancestors that up the wrong tree is a bear, and an attack is imminent. I hope you're hungry for a knuckle sandwich. Another great threat. Why I oughta, I hope I hope you're hungry for a knuckle sandwich. You're on thin ice. These are great threats, and I think these threats were created from a place of real creativity and originality. And I think it came from when people were a lot less loose-lipped. They weren't so quick to let the curses fly. They were more reserved, more Puritan. These are people being creative in ways of saying, I want to F you up right now. Hey, wise guy. Which is a great thing to call somebody who's being a dumbass. We'll head into the elite tier. These are the top 3. We're going out with a bang here. I gotta let you know. When you turn on this podcast and you hear me say something witty or quippy or something that's stupid, let's focus on something stupid here. Whenever I say something stupid, you could look over at your friend that you're listening to and say, get a load of this guy. Just tell me that I'm full of malarkey. That's all right. Get a load of this guy is an elite way to call somebody out and roast them without really saying anything, once again. And now I explained to you what it means, and you're probably thinking, what's next in the elite tier is no shit, Sherlock. I mean, no shit, Sherlock is such a... it's so much better, and it makes it so much better that no shit, Sherlock is on here in the elite tier because Captain Obvious isn't on here at all. They didn't even give an honorable mention to that nonsense. Sherlock is the original Captain Obvious, the real detective, you know? Oh, you're a real detective for figuring that one out. There's nothing like stomping on somebody when they think they've discovered the world. And speaking of stomping on somebody, last but not least in the elite tier. Okay, no more Mr. Nice Guy. See, you've messed with me enough. And I've been too nice. This isn't going to go on any longer. I'm just gonna be me now. I used to be Mr. Nice Guy, but now I'm just gonna be me. This tweet made a great point, you know? Why say neighbor when you can say all of these things? This is what we came up with originality and creativity before we decided to just start saying whatever we wanted, even if they were nasty words. Let's this is great. So in the Spotify, when you're done listening to the episode, there's an option to interact. And on this one, I think I'm going to do come up with your crazy white person saying. And that's what I want. That's the challenge for this week. I want people to come up with crazy white people sayings. And let's see how mayonnaisely ridiculous we can get with these. I think that with some of the funny, creative folks that are listening to this show, we could come up with something that could end up in the elite tier. Let's bring these sayings back. You know, no more Mr. Nice Guy. You're on thin ice, pal. We're coming in with a vengeance. I'm going to wrap it up here. We have our challenge laid out. We had a lot of laughs. We learned a little bit. Maybe I inspired somebody. Maybe I just made you relax and forget about anything that was bothering you. Whatever it is that I did from you listening to this podcast, I'm happy and I'm glad you joined us. Be sure to like, rate, subscribe, whatever you got to do on the YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast platforms to stay informed and stay in the loop for when I'm dropping new episodes. They're coming hot at you every week, so keep your eyes peeled and your ears open for when I start thumbing through the bookmarks and you can sit down and read with Bookmarks with Bump. Thanks again, everybody. Have a great week.